Hi, this is Shawn Daivari, and you're watching DieHard Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Shawn Daivari, former TNA WWE star. Shawn, thank you for joining us here today. Given your ethnicity and given your look, does it bother you that most promoters or creative teams would try to book you as a Middle Eastern villain as opposed to booking you in a way where it credits your wrestling merits and ability?
No, not really. I mean, wrestling's like a supply and demand thing, and if that act is in demand, then I'd be the stupid one for not participating in it. Like, it's a hot act, it works, it sells tickets for promoters, or promoters feel that's an act that'll sell tickets for them. I'm just a talent. I show up and do as I'm told. A lot of times, Ring of Honor specifically, they told me to just abandon the Sheik gimmick, and that was fine. It worked out okay. But a lot of times they'll wrestle for promoters, and they'll bring me in as a babyface. So it's like at that point, it's like the fact that I'm a Sheik or Middle Eastern or anything is completely played down other than what they remember I did off of WWE or TNA TV. Nothing about me is Middle Eastern. I'm just a glad hand, high five babyface, and promoters are happy with that. I'd say it's about 50-50 actually that I'm split. Working as a baby, so I guess it's not that big a deal, but like I said, I'm just a talent. What the promoter asks to do, I'm like, sure, whatever. If they ask me to be a German guy, I'll be a German guy, you know.
Well, it's a good thing that you're able to be a chameleon, so to speak, and work with whatever you're given. But outside of a mental standpoint, did you ever have a time while playing those characters that you might have feared for your life or had any death threats?
No, maybe in a different time, in a different age, it would have been an issue. But no, like I think my main break in pro wrestling was around 2004, and I think at that point in time, wrestling fans were smart enough and understood that I was just a character, or I was a performer playing a character on a show. And even though, like in a venue, I got a lot of heat or a lot of shit and stuff maybe thrown at me, or people saying things that would be taken as a threat outside of the wrestling world. If I ever bumped into somebody in like an airport or a shopping mall or at a restaurant, they were just happy to get a photo taken with you, have you sign an autograph or something. So I never felt. But like I said, 2004, 2005 was a pretty progressive time compared to if I was wrestling maybe in the 90s, 80s, or 70s.
You spent a lot of time during your WWE tenure switching roles. You started off as a manager, turned into a wrestler, then you refereed for Kurt Angle a little bit, back to a manager. Do you feel that maybe it was your size that they didn't know what to do with you, they were afraid to put you in the ring with? And how do you feel about the rise of the smaller guy in wrestling today?
No, I absolutely agree with. I mean, I was told that was the case. I mean, I was told countless times by the office, like, you're great heat, you're a great hand, you're incredibly talented, but for a guy your size, we don't have anything in that spot up there. But that was their way of saying we can pay you and keep you in that spot and have you perform in that spot as a manager. And like I said, financially, I didn't mind it. I mean, there was plenty of shows where, depending on who was the champion, like there was almost all the shows I did when I was in that manager spot working in the top of the show, I was making more money than both the tag champions. And depending on like who the Intercontinental or U.S. champion was, a lot of times I was making more than the U.S. or Intercontinental champion. So it was extremely hard for me to complain about not being able to perform in the ring. As an artist, it bothered me. As an artist, I was like, man, that's my medium. I like to go out there. That's my art form. That bothered me, but there was no way I would dare complain about it because, like I said, there was the tag team champions are going out there busting their ass for 40 minutes, to make X many dollars, and I would get paid more than that to stand at ringside, walk in at the right time, take one choke slam from Undertaker, and walk out. And yeah, it's very difficult to complain. I have very little to complain about my tenure at WWE professionally, but now I'm glad to see that just every year as the industry goes on, a smaller guy gets more and more opportunity, and now I see a lot of average-sized guys in WWE. And when I say average-sized guys, like over there I was a small guy. When I walk around in public, I'm an above-average-sized guy, but over there, like I said, a lot of what I call average-sized guys are getting a chance, and it's glad to see that no longer is a size a discrimination in that environment.
Well, you seem to be a well-versed student of the wrestling game. I'm sure you watched a lot before you got into it. Growing up, who were some of the boyhood idols that you had that made you want to become a professional wrestler yourself?
When I was younger, I was just big about the baby faces. Like Sting was top babyface, so I loved him. Hulk Hogan was top babyface, I loved him. But shortly around, my teenage years, that's when I really fell in love with like Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Mick Foley. Where it was no longer the guys that were promoted as the top baby faces. I found myself changing to the guys that put on the best matches, even if they weren't necessarily booked in that top tier spot. I mean, But I mean, around that time, Shawn and Brett were becoming top guys, but Mick was still kind of like a intercontinental level guy, and but he was someone that still, regardless of, he was having main event caliber matches, and I found myself like no longer was I. Like I said, when I was younger, I would watch the show for the main event act. Like a lot of kids today, I'm sure they watch the show for John Cena. That's what they tune in to see, but maybe a little bit older fan could have a more diverse range, and yeah, they'll tune in for that main event. That might very much interest them, but they also might like, I can't think of anybody, CM Punk, a couple matches down, or they might like even Bryan Danielson a couple matches down before that, and that's what I found. I found as I got older, the guys that were producing, I was drawing myself more to, and as I was younger, I found myself that were booked and promoted in that top guy spot.
At one point during your WWE run, I'm pretty sure it was a televised match, you had the opportunity to work a tag team match, Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan. Stepping in the ring against these opponents, did you feel that time you had finally made your dream come true?
Yeah, sort of. Not really. I really, really set my standards high. So it was like, I mean, that might be enough for a lot of people to consider a highlight of their career, and it was a highlight of mine. But I hope to exceed that and do better things. But yeah, that was kind of a funny situation. That was my 21st birthday that night, and it was like on my 21st birthday, I got to wrestle my childhood hero out in Hulk Hogan and like my teenage hero as Shawn Michaels. And it was kind of like, wow, and in the main event of a pay-per-view, like I didn't know how at 21 years old they could get any better, and then but like it was very cool at that time. But now it's like, I think it's still difficult to do, but it's fairly obtainable to be in a main event match at a pay-per-view with main event talent. The trick is, or where I'd like to get, is to be somebody that does that on a regular, consistent basis. To say I wrestled with Shawn Michaels or Hulk Hogan in the main event of a pay-per-view one time, some people might find that a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal. But if I could be someone like Edge that says I main evented pay-per-views with Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Triple H more times than I have fingers, that's an accomplishment to me. So that's where I'd like to get.
That's good. It's good that you have a goal that's set higher than just being in the ring with a hero.
There's a lot of people that are just content with working at WWE, and like that's a revolving door, man. If you have half a grain of salt of talent, you should be able to get your foot in the door at some point in time. It's to get there, to get on top and stay on top for an extended period of time. To me, that's something to be proud of.
Again, I'm mentioning that you're an avid fan of the business, but is the business the same as the business that you fell in love with, or do you find that it's shifting more towards the entertainment value?
No, well, still it was always entertainment to me. I think that stayed the same, but the concept of the industry has changed. Like when I was growing up as a kid, that wrestling that I liked as a kid is kind of a little bit more edgier than that, but that's what's being presented today. When I really, really fell in love with it, and when I fell in love with it so much, when I said, that's what I want to do, I want to be a pro wrestler, that was like late 90s, and that's completely gone. That was like when wrestling meets Jerry Springer / Howard Stern and stuff, whatever was the most cutting edge television, or I should say television media, like Howard Stern was on TV, but whatever was the most cutting edge media at the time, pro wrestling was right there with it. If Howard Stern was here, pro wrestling is here. If Jerry Springer went here, pro wrestling went here. That's when I loved it. Now today you look at it and it's like pro wrestling is here and Nip Tuck is here, and then pro wrestling goes here and then South Park goes here. So now the gap between cutting edge TV and pro wrestling has changed. But I really like that as a fan. I like pushing the envelope and seeing what you can get away with and stuff. But apparently that's not their market right now. So it's kind of like I either have to weather that storm till those kids grow up and become teenagers and like, the trash, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and then maybe I might find myself back in love with the television product, or it's up to me to adapt my game and say, okay, this is what I watched and fell in love with, and this is what I modeled my performance after. Now wrestling's here, now I have to reinvent myself to bring myself back down here.
You had a great run in TNA as X Division champion, and it seems like they appreciated your skill as an athlete a lot more. Unfortunately, the division, it's hit or miss right now. It's probably one of their greatest entities that they can grow on. What I guess a lot of fans out there want to know is about a month after you had signed, or it was announced that you had signed a multi-year deal with TNA, you had asked for your release. What led to your decision?
When I signed my contract, Jeff Jarrett was head of creative, and it was a little more than a month. It was about a month and a half, 2 months. About 3 to 4 weeks after I signed my contract, or another 2 years with them, Jeff was removed from head of creative, and the whole creative staff has changed, and that was shit in 2009, and it's still changing right now, and we're more than halfway through 2010. And that changed, and then from there was just a conflict of what I had agreed to. I said, I'll hang around for 2 years based on Jeff's vision of what he had laid out for me, and it was what Jeff, Dutch, Mantell were pretty much on creative, what they had laid out for me, and then the agents at the time were like Road Dogg, Scott D'Amore, Jim Cornette, what they had envisioned for me. I said, their vision, I can be a part of that for 2 years. And then when all of them got replaced and new management came in, their vision was not what I signed up for 2 years, and that's pretty much where the conflict became an issue. It wouldn't have been a conflict if we redid my deal after the management change. If after the management changed, then I could have went with them and said, what do you guys see for me? And then we could have adjusted my contract based off what they saw and vice versa to make it match. But it was really like I agreed to A under A management, and then they changed to B management, and I still had contract A. That was where everything fell apart. I was completely happy with everything until just, like I said, management changed. And it wasn't like I was unhappy with what I was doing. I was unhappy with I was told we were going left and we went right. That was the only thing that bothered me. And I said, if you told me we were going left and I agreed to it and we went left, that's cool. If you said we're going right, then I should be able to be given an opportunity to redo my contract to align with your vision of going right.
TNA was a great spawning ground, so to speak, because when it started up, it brought in a lot of independent talent. Now you're back on the scene there. I know you're competing for ROH. What is your thoughts of where the state of the independent scene is today?
From what I've seen, it's terrible. Like there's a lot of bad talent, and the good talent I've seen don't hang around too long because WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, they know that there's not a lot of good. There's a lot of horrible bad talent, and if I see anybody with any lick of like this guy's got potential, as soon as I see that within 6 months to a year, WWE, TNA signs them. It happens every time. If I see somebody like anyone that's like, this guy might have a chance, like no question about it, within 6 months to a year, WWE or TNA signs them.
Are there 3 guys out there right now who aren't signed by either organization that you think should be?
That have never been before?
Yeah.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Austin Aries is one, but I mean, I guess he had a run with TNA. Yeah, not someone too much specific I can think of. I see a lot of guys that were either in TNA or Ring of Honor that got let go. That is mind-boggling. Especially like Kevin Thorne is one with. Not that I mean, we're good friends, and not that I'm like a crazy fan of his work and think he should be headlining WrestleMania after WrestleMania. But I can't believe with the huge blow up of like the vampire movies and all the Twilight bullshit that somebody couldn't capitalize with him sooner, or even. There's that guy on Raw. He was one of the Major Brothers, and now he does a Jersey Shore gimmick. But he's still kind of in the same match 1, match 2, undercard spot. I can't believe with the huge explosion of Jersey Shore that they haven't been able to capitalize on someone like him either. I see a lot more of that. I see a lot more qualified talents that were let go. Shelton Benjamin, Carlito, guys like that. Where I'm just thinking like, man, if these guys got let go, how is TNA not signing them up like that? Or, like I said, they'll be on the independents for 6 months to a year like Goldust, and then they'll be like, we made a mistake. We need to get this guy back. Yeah.
Well, my last question is, I understand that I believe you're the middle child in your family?
Yeah.
Okay. You got a younger brother who's also aspiring to be a professional wrestler. Through your experiences, looking down at your brother, hoping that he doesn't hit the same obstacles you did, what kind of advice would you give him and to other youngsters out there looking to get into the game?
Same thing. I told him, I help him out here and there when I can, but I just tell him get your college degree. And he's in his senior year of college, and I don't actively help him out. Like, if he asks for my help, I help him. As far as getting work, I give him advice and all kinds of bullshit. But as far as like getting work and going to Japan and getting his foot in the door with WWE and TNA, I told him, I said, I will call everybody I know and do everything in my power to help you out as soon as you graduate college. And he said, yeah, that's cool. Like I said, he's in his senior year now. He's 21 years old. It's like he's not getting old anytime soon. He's healthy. He's young. Right now, he just has time to get more and more experience and get in the gym and get in better shape. So, like I think this June, I guess May, he'll graduate with all the other college kids. And then if I feel he's ready, I'll tell him what I think he should do, and I'll make phone calls for him and see if I can do something for him.
Shawn, thank you for your time. Appreciate it, and best of luck with what you do in the future.